All right, it started. Um, Hello and welcome to Cinema Sibs. I am your co-host Rachel Leishman. Can't get in frame. Uh, you gonna laugh or you
And
gonna
I am your co-host, Patrick Leishman.
Oh, brother.
I
Well,
just
that
like that I went off the wrong way. Like I was,
you struggled for a second.
yeah, it's like oh,
It was
I
like
was
no when you
stopped. I was
walked
like,
down the escalator or down the
I was
stairs.
rowing. I gotta get my hands tall. Anywho,
Um, we, as you can tell, are siblings, and we are just going through movies that we love. We were doing movies specifically to when we were growing up, and then the one we're doing today was released when we were both full grown adults. So we're just doing movies we love.
well, a little backstory on why we're doing this movie is our mother had some optical issues and needed to have surgery,
Our
and
family with
Rachel,
optical issues? How weird.
what? Anyway, and Rachel flew in to take care of her. And she came over to hang out one night and she was like, "You want to watch a Star Wars movie?" And I was like, "We just finished the prequels. Let's watch." Or you were like, "Let's watch a movie or something." I don't
I was
remember.
like,
Like,
I didn't get
it
that
doesn't have to
specific.
be a perfect retelling of the story. It just has to generalize. And I actually started A New Hope. And then I was like, "Wait, let's watch Rogue One because that would technically be a live action movie that would happen before." So that's why we're doing this because we watched Rogue One, and honestly, I feel bad for my wife because the thing about my wife is she's a reader, and like Star Wars, other than the original trilogy, she knows not well, doesn't know much about Star Wars and isn't the biggest of fans. Lately, she's come around mainly because of Grogu, but and I just feel bad because we put it on, and Rachel and I the whole time were like, "Hey, editing." And in the trailer, Saw Gerrero actually had no hair, and then he has hair, and then there's a TIE fighter. And it was just like, but however long that movie is with us talking about how there's like a shadow movie that no one has seen because it's been edited. Like, show me bald Forrest Whitaker. That's what I want. That hashtag. Put it on
Show
my
me my
tweet.
quote
Yeah,
that is on my arm. Well, but it is funny. I meant to
I'm gonna
ask you.
tweet it out with my new Twitter account.
No Twitter. I meant to ask you that night and I forgot. So did you guys watch Solo or did you just completely skip Solo?
We haven't watched anything like since then.
No,
Give you a little.
Solo is technically before Rogue
No,
One.
Oh, well, technically, then no, we didn't watch Solo. But I'm saying is we, you that was like Gene, that was 2 weeks ago probably,
Yeah, I was
and
just I didn't know where you had like if you had already seen it because you pitched Rogue One, so I was like, oh, he either forgot or has already seen. He either forgot that Solo was next or has already seen Solo. But
I just didn't check the timeline properly, apparently. Actually, I'll tell you why I watched Rogue One instead of Solo is I went down the Disney thing. So it put Rogue One first.
well, it's wrong.
You know how like Disney's like you can watch it in release order or timeline order and then they throw in like
Timeline order.
they throw in everything. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
literally, like, everything. They're like, here is like Star Wars Visions, and you got to watch this, and then the Clone Wars, and then after the Clone Wars, you watch Episode 3, and then after that, like, you got to watch Rebels, but like, then you stop Rebels at season 3, and you have to watch A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Then you watch Rebels season 4, then Return of the Jedi. Like, I'm sure I'm making everybody super upset because I just made that all up, and there's people out there that are like, "That's not right. What's wrong with him?" You know. But my point is that like it's a lot.
Have
So I
you
haven't watched. I mean, like I struggle to stay awake past 10:30. So
have you decided how you're going to show Lexi Star Wars? Are you showing her it in machete order, or are you just gonna show her it in release order?
Honestly, there's so much time because to date this, yesterday Masters of the Universe Revolution came out,
Mhm.
and I was like, okay, like, is this a little like too like much? Like, we'll see. And like, I put it on, and I'm like, Daddy really like this cartoon. Like, we're gonna watch it together. And she was like, okay. And then I put it on, and she was like, yeah, this is great. And like, literally, like, left the room, and like once or twice was like, let me know when that's over. So like, I don't know if she's even like. I mean, I know Masters of the Universe and Star Wars are completely different things, but like across the board, other than Star Trek Lower Decks, which um, she is like completely uninterested in anything that I'm interested in, and it's kind of disappointing. And I think the only reason why she likes Lower Decks is because of Boimler.
That is true. Famously true. Um, to start, Rogue. How do you feel about Rogue One?
I like it a lot. I think it's the beginning of this era of Star Wars where like you get what you want. And what I mean by that is that like you were always told that Boba Fett was a badass. Like all you ever really saw Darth Vader do was choke people. Like that was like the most badass thing that Darth Vader did. Like this was the first movie where it was like everybody he's in the movie for less than like 10 minutes, I think. And everybody talked about like what Darth Vader did. And it kind of sucks that they did because this is also a phenomenal like movie, and it gives you like solid like justified reasons for like major plot holes in the original trilogy for like why things happen, especially like A New Hope, you know, um
Mhm.
that uh I love this movie. I think it's really good. Like of all the like non-Skywalker saga stuff, this movie is probably like the first or second best thing they came out with.
Yeah, and I mean, I love Rogue One very much. I think it's perfect. I loved Cassian Andor the minute I left this movie, and I thought, well, I'm never seeing him again. And then now I have Andor. But I also do think, like, these movies, like you said, do a really good job of filling in gaps or giving us things that we either didn't know we needed or want to see. Like, I love how dramatic Darth Vader is in this movie because Anakin Skywalker was incredibly dramatic. And then when we get to see Darth Vader in the original trilogy, he's also like, struggling with other things. He's a little less dramatic than he is in this movie, but it still is like this continued that, like, no, he will do absolutely the most in any situation he's put in. And I do like that this movie gives it to me because I love when he says, or you reenacted it, but when he was like, don't choke on your aspirations.
I'm gonna do it. Hold on, it's my favorite part because he's just like, "Don't choke." Oh, all right, hold on. All right, I'm gonna try it again. For those of you listening, like, I completely missed the camera when I turned. All right, don't choke on your aspirations. I'm not trying the third time. I got it.
Like, you got it. You nailed it.
But it's the hand coming up like it's
Yeah.
such a dad joke. That's the other
And
part
he
about
is,
it is
even
it's
though
like
he doesn't know.
yeah, it's a super dad joke. But Darth Vader was awesome, like down to the fact that he had the red lenses in his helmet because in the New Hope he had red lenses in his helmet. But like, see, that's the problem with Darth Vader. I mean, like tinted, like red
Well, no,
hints.
I said, ooh, because I didn't. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch Obi-Wan and see what they are in Obi-Wan.
I don't know because that's like, I mean, if we're getting all like literal with timeline stuff, like Obi-Wan's prior to Han Solo.
To Solo, yes.
So I mean, like Vader. Who knows how many times Vader,
Well,
like Vader,
actually,
what
we
would
need to
be
look
in,
at that because Leia in that movie is like 8 or 9, or in that show is like 8-ish,
hmm
and Solo is supposed to be like 10 years before
okay.
A New Hope, so
Well,
it's
I
about the
don't,
same time.
but the point is that like what you should look for is the very end when he's talking to the Emperor,
Mhm.
what color his lenses are, because Obi-Wan, I'm sorry, by the way, spoiler alert for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Obi-Wan damages his helmet. He has a brand new helmet at the end.
Yeah,
So if you're gonna look for the red tinted lenses, like
you need to look
the
there.
best time to look would be there. But like I mean, who knows? He could have had countless helmets.
Yeah,
Or he could have had like literally two. Who knows?
I also just looked it up just because I was interested. Technically, if you were watching all of Star Wars in release order, you would have had to watch Solo before Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan Leia is 10 years old in Obi-Wan. And if I remember correctly, Solo is supposed to be 10 years before A New Hope, and she's 19 in A New Hope.
Dang. I the only one I haven't watched is Solo in this run. I mean, I haven't watched New Hope yet. Like that's so
Yeah.
I guess I'll watch Solo and see if you can forgive me for watching that. I because I like what is it? I like what's the thing where you watch them but you watch them in a weird machete. I
Machete order.
machete the crap out of
Yeah, I
that.
think Machete Order is, well, now it's probably out the window because you have the TV shows and stuff. But I always think Machete Order was like you just watched Solo and Rogue One back to back in it. Like everything
Well,
else is kind of like mix match because you're keeping the secret of Palpatine. Um, but and I think Anakin, I can't remember because it's like I always knew, so I couldn't remember what secrets you were keeping hidden. But Palpatine was like the big one, which is funny because he sounds the exact same. So much just like you couldn't figure that out. But now I wonder what it would be because it's so everything is back. Like there's so many different shows and stuff you have to watch now. Like where would Andor fit in?
before Rogue One.
Yeah, you're correct. You're so correct. Speaking of Rogue One,
Jin Erso and her dad,
Galen.
Galen Erso, La Sharif.
Yeah. That guy who drank around Denmark with his friends.
This movie's got a pretty badass opening.
Mhm.
You know, like that whole like tombstone, okay, corral with stormtroopers in black walking in a row, like kind of vibe, and how everything goes down. Like it's a great, fantastic. It's great, and like it sets up the whole like Jin Urso. Like basically, Galen Urso's an engineer, and Krennic, who is the bad guy that isn't Darth Vader in this movie, it's this movie's about the Death Star.
Building of it.
Yeah, and the people who steal the plans. Also, like a couple other things you might not know is that, like, for instance, Red Squadron in this movie is Luke Skywalker's squadron, Rogue Squadron. Like
Mhm.
they take on the name because Rogue One is significant. And then you actually see Red Five in this movie. The predecessor to Luke Skywalker, who's Red Five. Like
Mhm.
you see him die in this movie, like a
They have to
horrible.
make way for Luke,
Yeah, someone else had to be Red Five before Luke, and that dude's dead.
and he
But
died.
it's cool. It answers a bunch of questions though. Like, but Rachel, let's stop rambling. Let's get to the nitty gritty of this.
Okay, first of all, before we do that though, you just made me think of something about which I love, but people on the internet, I guess their anger makes a little more sense, but it's also very funny because I don't care. The more we talk about all of these shows getting to and like movies, Leia is the one that keeps coming back, and it just makes me so happy as a Leia fan that like she's the one that is more important now. Because like Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke barely in it. This movie, like you just said, we met Red 5, he died. It's Luke's squadron, but we see Leia. So it's like they keep being
Well,
like, and
dude,
okay,
it goes like this. It's like, okay, so Luke Skywalker is a hero, and like you send him in to like fight the battles. So he's like, a soldier. Even though
yeah,
he's a Jedi, he's a cop. He's he's a Jedi like cop kind of whatever, right? But Leia, Leia is like a politician. Like so nothing
technically,
happens without Leia's like say so, and it is over and over and it's to the point where like yeah, Luke Skywalker started his Jedi Academy, and they learned from the Phantom Menace that like maybe you shouldn't get super into the politics of Star Wars, but like Luke probably had to get Leia to like throw some sanctions in the New Republic to like so you could get the
let him do
land
it.
for the Jedi Temple, like to get it like approved, like a building permit. Like Leia probably hooked them up on that. Like that's how much power like Leia had versus Luke, and Luke like faced Darth Vader and like there's no one to argue the fact that like technically he didn't kill the emperor, but everybody's like, "You killed the emperor," and it's like, sure,
Yeah, and
like
he's also a Skywalker, so he will very dramatically be like, "Yes, I did. I
yeah,
did kill the Emperor. Thank you so much."
yeah,
Those Skywalkers, they're dramatic as shit, and he will be like, "Yes, it's me. I did it. I'm
right.
Luke Skywalker." But
But
this movie barely about the Skywalkers.
yeah, thankfully, and there really isn't any Jedi in the movie unless you count Donnie
Sharut,
Yen,
Sharut.
who is arguably the best part of the whole. Him and K2SO are like the two best parts of the movie. If you
I
ask
love
me.
K2.
He
It is
beats the
one of the
crap out of
things.
Cassie. Like I mean, he's just fantastic. And
He's a
what's the
fantastic
guy's name that does his voice? Like it's kind of a
Alan Tudyk.
complicated. Yeah, Tudyak Tudyk. I
Alan.
I am so bad with names, and like I don't want to be disrespectful, so usually I just say the guy from Firefly, which is probably disrespectful like in its own way. Because it's like he's been in so many other things. He's a
Yeah, he
killer
does.
Joker on Harley Quinn.
He's a lot. He's
He
in
is.
everything. Yeah, but K2 rules. I want K2 to show up on Andor. I love Sharut and Baze. I'm team that those two were a couple because
I
they
am one with the Force, and the Force is
this
with
is
me.
with me. I truly those two are a couple. I don't care what anyone says to me. They're in love with each other.
When you told me that when we watched it, and then like I was like, "What? Oh, okay." Like it was like I didn't disagree with you. It's just I never noticed it. And then you said it. I was paying attention and like,
Yeah, the
"Oh yeah."
when you watch that movie, you're like, so they live together, they're in love with each other, but you're trying to tell me they're not a couple?
Yeah, and then at the end, like he freaking does the chant. Like I don't think he did the chant the whole movie, and then at the end, whenever his boy, like whenever
Sure.
Donnie Yen dies, he's like, "I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me. Let me grab my futuristic Gatling gun and wipe out some stormtroopers."
And he does.
There's an interesting, he just says, "I'm one with the Force, and the Force is with me," and walks across that field.
Mhm.
We're jumping all over the place. If this is your first time listening, I'm sorry, but that's what we do. Um,
You can watch the
but
movie to get a
yeah,
play-by-play recap of
this
Rogue
like most
One.
of the movies we watch, this is the most recent one, and it's like 8 years old. Like,
Yeah.
so they've been out for a while. Like so it's like sorry. But anyways, I read an interesting theory. I don't remember where, but it was about how the force works, and like in order, like he had to get to that button to make
Mhm.
things fall into place. Because at the end of the movie, they got to get to a button to get a message out, like several buttons actually in several different locations, and everybody has to hit them, and there's no sequential order to hitting them, but they all must be hit. And Donnie Yen is the blind Jedi Kyber Crystal guard. Uh, is one of the people that have to press this button. And the whole time he chants, I am one with the Force is with me. But he doesn't control the Force like a Jedi, but that doesn't really matter. Anyway, he's walking across this field, and stormtroopers are just like unloading on this dude, like not regular stormtroopers, right? Aren't they like the elite ones in black?
Yeah, they're like the high tech.
Yeah,
I'm
they're like the
literally
ones
like
that
God.
shouldn't miss this much, like anyway, and he's like walking across and doesn't get hit until after he's able to press the button. And the article I was reading sets puts forth the theory that like the Force will like make it so like expert marksmen like can't hit their target to make things happen. Like that's how like the Force works in its mysterious ways, that it will like make you trip so that you miss like an appointment if it meant that like it sets things in motion, but at the same time people can control it. So I don't know 100% how much I
Well,
subscribe to that theory, but it was an interesting thing to think
they
about.
don't control it, they wield it. That's a different thing. Because you
I
can't,
guess.
you're not always like in control of the force. That's like you have to like be consciously like trying to use the force in order to have it in your possession at that moment. So you're just wielding it. So it could be a thing that like continues to let you fulfill your destiny because like Obi-Wan Kenobi when he force throws somebody off of a bridge is not controlling it past them falling.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
in theory, it could work.
I don't know. I just I always thought it was an interesting thing to think about. Like
Yeah.
I think I didn't read it too long ago, so I mean it's not like I was like, oh, for the last 20 years I've been waiting to say this. But the let's getting back to like Rogue One. It's like a lot of do you remember George Lucas before he sold Star Wars to Disney?
Hmm.
There was this rumor about like this show in the underground of Coruscant that he was going to come out with, where it was like the gritty underbelly of Coruscant during the reign of the Empire, right?
Well, kind of what Andor ended up being.
And or in this movie, like like
Mhm.
I mean, the thing about this movie that like you've never seen in any Star Wars thing is that like when you get introduced to Andor and he's talking to that dude, and that dude's like, I don't think they followed me. I think we're like all right. And Andor's like, okay, cool. And then he's like freaking kill. He's like, don't worry, it's gonna be all right. And then he just kills the dude.
Mhm.
Like that's very like whoa. Like you never. I mean, there's some Obi-Wan cutting off like people's arms getting cut off in most of the Star Wars movies. Like there was some gruesome stuff, but like
Not an execution.
well, other than Han Solo in whatever interpretation of A New Hope you want to watch, like Han Solo kind of did that, but it was like even though he shot first, it was kind of in self-defense because he knew what Greedo was there for. Like this dude was literally like, I did what you asked, but like I think I wasn't followed. And Andor was like, "Don't worry about it, man." Two, and then he just like left him there dead.
Well, it's also different though with Han because Han Solo is, you know, not with the rebellion at that point. So with him maybe executing someone, you're like, oh, this is just the way it is as a smuggler. And so it's like you have that smuggler mentality, but we are introduced to Cassian Andor as a person in the Rebel Alliance. So to like see him do that, you're like, wow, this is a completely different side of the rebellion that we haven't seen because the only real look into the rebellion that we had didn't even come until, you know, after Luke goes and tries to save like after all of this is where like and after what isn't it even after Obi-Wan dies?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Obi-Wan dies
actually,
before he gets to Yavin 4.
yeah.
Like Biggs Darklighter, like who in the original cut you would have met him before, like that's like he rolls up and he's like Biggs and he's like Luke, you made it. And that's like your first introduction to the actual rebellion.
Yeah, and the rebellion even then is a lot more like we can do it, we're positive, and it's because we've watched like now that we've seen Rogue One, it was because they destroyed the deaths like they knew they had the plans to destroy the Death Star. And so it's a different mentality when you
Yeah,
get
but
to that point.
also like you learn in Rogue One like why there were so little ships to go and take on the Death Star.
Yeah.
Because they all died trying to get the plans. Like that, I mean, Luke Skywalker's predecessor read the original, the OG Red Five, if you will, like
Dead so that they could be
dead,
happy
and
with
that's not the only one you saw die. Like like so.
but it's like
That's all.
we are seeing a rebellion that is like on its last legs struggling and they're like if they don't get this they don't know what they're going to do. And then so the rebellion that we've always seen first and foremost has been one that is hopeful because at early, rebellions are built on hope. But it is like they're all hopeful because they actually have those plans. But all these people had to die first in order to have that hope that we've always seen the rebellion as having.
Well, the original plan for the movie was they all live, and supposedly Kathleen Kennedy's like, shouldn't they all die? And the filmmakers were like, yes, thank you so much. Like, we thought this was Disney, so we weren't sure. And she was like, no, kill those bastards. Like,
Because it
yeah,
wouldn't make sense because it's like cool. So they just let them retire because they found the plans and they were
yeah,
like,
it's like you
okay, good
got the
job.
plans, but and it's like everything. They can't live in that movie. Like, you
Mm-mm.
know what I mean? No one can live. First of all, none of them are actually like the greatest of people. Like, granted, like the Empire's worse, but like Cassian Andor like killed a dude in cold blood. Like that
Which
was doing him a solid at the beginning of that movie.
what I do like is within Andor as a series, we're seeing what built him into into this spy who is like, I'm doing what I have to, and if it means killing somebody in order to succeed, I'm gonna do it. Because at the start of Andor, he is you learn that he is like was a young boy when he got taken away from his home, that he like had a someone who loved him and took care of him, who was Fiona Shaw, and then like had a nice he was still part of the spies, but he was trying to help like find his sister. And then it just eventually is going to derail into this man who is so kind of like one track mind. I have to kill in order and get the information I need. And I'm really interested to see how that's going to continue to progress because it's like season one set up a lot of like why he has this resentment and this anger, but it's very interesting also to now watch Rogue One after having watched Andor and see where he is at versus like where Jin is because we do get a little bit more of Jin's backstory in this movie where they left Cassian to just be like, he's a spy, you'll figure it out. And so it's much more interesting now, having watched season one of Andor, to go and watch Rogue One and be like, cool, this
Oh,
is going to be crazy in season two.
and they're only doing 2 seasons of that show, right?
Right. It's the end of season two is going to lead up to Rogue One. So, in theory, in season two, we're going to have
Maybe the end of
K2SO.
season 2, he'll kill that guy in the alley, and we're gonna be
It's
like,
going to
oh.
start right when he's going to meet that guy, and we're going to be like, that guy.
Oh no! The end of season 2 will be him like being like, "All right, I need you to get
Yeah,
these like
that's what I'm saying. He's going to
plans for
meet that
me.
guy.
The one thing I won't do is kill you. You have my word on
But
that." Andor, to
Rogue
be
One, a Star
continued
Wars, cool.
in Rogue One that you've already seen.
But I will say this movie came out and I was obsessed with Cassian. Like I love Jin, but we knew most everything about Jin because we saw her as a child with her dad and her mom, how she met Saw Gerrera, that what she was kind of doing once Saw abandoned her. Like we saw all of that. So Jin, I was like, yes, it's a character I love, but it's I'm not I know everything that I kind of need to know about Jin Erso. but this movie really did leave Cassian up to like, oh, what was his deal? What was I want to go back and see what he has to do. So it's why like shows like Andor made me so excited because I was like, cool, I actually do get to go back now and see how he became the man that was in Rogue One. And it's one of the first times in a Star Wars like movie and franchise, and then Solo did the same thing when it came out, that I became obsessed with a character within one movie. Because even like most of the time, I have to watch the entire trilogy to be like, yeah, this is my favorite character of this. But both this and Solo had characters that I was like, them, because like I love Kira in Solo, and I love Cassian in Rogue One.
I liked Solo. I think it wasn't bad.
It's not. It's great.
Yeah, like I think it got a bad rap because it was the first Star Wars movie that didn't make money, but like they leave out like all the facts.
Hmm. And also, I have a lot of respect for that movie, and because I've said it before, I'll say it again. And I understood that Han Solo is not a ladies' man. He is not someone who wants to deal with people. He is a hermit who hates everybody and would rather just be on his own. And I liked that movie because that movie,
Which which our Indiana Jones conversation, if you remember, is like you know who else you could describe with the
Harrison
same exact sentences is Harrison Ford.
Ford.
Not put myself in the same category as Harrison Ford, but like most of that would also describe me, which is like, I'm home. Why do I have to leave? I don't want to talk to you.
but it, but both Rogue One and Solo do a great job of being like, hey, we're introducing these new characters. You only really get them for this movie. We don't know if we're telling any other stories with them, but like, here is the information that you need to be interested. And I think that's what makes Rogue One, outside of the story, so fascinating to me because it's like, yeah, I care about all of these characters despite the fact that I very clearly am never seeing them in the future again. And only with shows like Andor would I see them in a past situation.
I think that Solo showed you that like Han Solo is filthy. Because look how clean the Millennium Falcon was when he wins it from Lando. And
And
then look
when
at it by the time that just a new hope. Like, who knows how long he didn't have it before it comes back into his possession in The Force Awakens. But like Lando in Empire, he should honestly be like more pissed at Han Solo than he is. Like, you know, the what'd you do to my ship? Like,
yeah.
it looks like a pigsty. Have you ever heard of soap? Like, there should have been more sentences there. It's like, I understand you're a smuggler, but like, come on, man. Like, pick up a mop. Like,
Well, it is funny because you say that, and then this movie with its it made me cry even though it was really bad CGI. You have like Leia in the most pristine outfit that she ever wears in all of Star Wars, which is the all white look. Which it's like, and she looks as clean as possible, walking through a ship, being like, "Hello, I'm here to send the plans off to the rebellion."
she doesn't walk. She's standing there. Someone walks up to her,
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
and then
Then
the
she looks
camera pans around,
eventually.
and she goes, "Hold on, help!" Because
Jesus,
like she's got the freaking was that Tom Hanks Christmas movie where he's the train
Polar
conductor?
Express.
Yeah, the Polar Express dead eyes going on there.
Um, I wanna know.
But I
Okay.
think she was still actually alive when
Mhm.
they did that, so it's not creepy. It becomes creepy with time.
He becomes creepy literally like 10 days later after its release
Uh-huh.
date because it was released and then she died on like the 28th, I think, of December.
Hey man, hindsight is always 2020.
Jesus.
Jiminy crickets.
Um, yeah. The thing about this movie is I love it a lot, but I do understand the criticism where it's like for a lot of this movie, you're like, okay, okay. And then it gets to the last act and you're like, this rules. I don't agree. I love every part of it, but I do understand those criticisms because there is a lot of just they're picking people up and then they're going here and then they see Saw and then that's where they meet Shrew and Baze and then they all have to flee together, which is like
Now,
What is
I
Halloween?
think it's a community movie, like in the sense that like I remember like talking about it with my friends, and it's like the scene where she's looking at the thing, the hologram, and her dad's like telling her the story, and he's like, and that's why like I put in a fail safe. There's like an exhaust port. Like he's explaining to her that he like put in this cataclysmic failure that it's a
Mhm.
1 in a million shot, but if you hit it, like it's done. Like it's
Yeah.
going, it cascading the destruction. And like even though I don't recall who I was watching that movie with, but like my friends back home, I remember like talking to them, and we all being like, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like some stupid thing. Like someone on the inside was doing that. Like it was exciting, And that's what I meant, where it like cleared up things. And so I always felt that that movie was the bridge, and it was a community movie. Like Star Wars fans could like watch that movie, and like there were so many things about it that were just cool.
Mhm.
Like I said earlier, and I'm getting to it. Darth Vader in his two scenes, both of which are like movie stealers, but like they're not like they do manage to like steal the movie in the sense that that's what most people talk about. But there's this movie is so much more. It's like it's got the glitz and the glamour, but it's also like got meat and potatoes in there because like you said, all these characters die, and this movie's like 2 hours and 15 minutes long, whatever it is, and you're into it the whole time. Like even the droid K2SO, that's his boy. Like he's not just comic relief. Like he's vital to everything that they're
Yeah.
doing.
You're sad when K2 dies. Like, it's very
All
depressing.
of them. You know what I mean? Like when they all die,
Yes.
it sucks.
Which is a testament to this movie that, like, you care that deeply about them that quickly in a Star Wars. I know, like, in movies that happens all the times, but in a Star Wars, to be introduced to a character and
Without
watching them.
Jedi's
Yeah, and it's
or
not like
Mandalorians, like none of the even,
no.
and this is prior to Mandalorian, but Boba Fett is arguably like still even at that point like the second or third most popular villain in Star Wars.
Mhm.
And they are like a couple of years away from like having a whole Mandalorian series based around that whole culture. And you got none of the popular stuff in Star Wars. No Force, no Jedi's, nothing. Well,
Well,
you
the
do
Force.
have the Death Star
And
and
you
Darth
have
Vader,
the idea of the Force the entire time.
but
Because Harry just keeps saying, "I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me."
right. But like the real story for this movie, for me, is what is the other movie? Because I talked about it earlier, meaning that like the trailers we got showed us scenes that were never in the movie, and there's all the rumors of like reshoots and what was the other movie? Like I want to like that. This movie is fantastic, but I want to see how bad the other one was, like or good. Like whatever it is. I wish that they would release the like Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Like there's like a whole like hour and a half amount of deleted scenes for that movie, which just like paints a completely different movie. And it's like Rogue One feels that way, and I want to see like that other movie, but I don't know. I liked it. I think the
Yeah,
other one would be good as well.
I I mean, I know for a fact it would fix my one complaint in this
I know
movie.
you got a tattoo before the movie came
No.
out.
No, it's
Oh,
not that, I don't care. The reason I got my tattoo is fine enough, and it's still people recognize it as a Star Wars thing. It is the with that scene, though, like, she ends up stealing what Cassian says to her and says it to the entire group as if it's her own thought, and I'm just like, "Why?" When y like, I think if is the her I think the line was, "Isn't this a rebellion? Well, I rebel." And that to me, I'm like, "Yeah, say that." Cassian can still say the line about how rebellions are built on hope, but you don't have to have her just take what he said and be like, "Rebellions are built on hope," to a group of people as if it is her own thought, because it's not. She stole it from him. It's his thought that she just was like, and now I'm gonna say it. And I was like,
Well, she's obviously a better orator. He'd kill you.
he's
She's
like,
yeah, like he's just gonna shoot you in an alley. She's like an orator. I don't know. I lost that one.
I will say before we get into like the scene that I know we both want to talk about, I do have to say this movie made me so happy and sad at the same time because it brought back Jimmy Smits and I love
Right
Bail Organa.
before,
Yeah,
like,
I love Bail Organa very much. Belle and Brea are my favorite like set of parents in the Star Wars universe, mainly because they're like the one good pair. Um, other than maybe Chewie and Mala. But I do think it's very kind of sad that like we get him and then it's like, yeah, I'm going back to Alderaan. And you're like,
no.
no, don't do it. Bail,
Yeah,
run.
yeah, literally bail on Alderaan.
But like, I'm happy that like we got him again in Obi-Wan. We're hopefully gonna get him in season 2 of Andor. Like, love that they're just like, you know, we're gonna bring back Jimmy Smits.
Yeah,
Whenever we get the chance, Jimmy Smits is coming back.
everybody's favorite Organa. Not quite.
Not quite, but still good. He's the second best Organa. Well, Brea's rules, so they're tied.
Who?
Brea Organa?
Is that his wife?
Yes, it's Leia's mom.
They just the whole time is like, why won't you wear these clothes in
Mhm.
Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah, but then she's
But
like,
like, just I'm not making fun. I'm just saying that like, it's like I get it as a parent. They've got like things where she's supposed to wear certain stuff too, and every time she's like, why won't you just put on the white dress because you need a white dress for this thing? And then by the end, she's like, you know what? I know you got a holster on, but at least you're wearing the white dress. Like, I'll take that as like
no way.
a winning compromise. That
I love it. But yeah, but obviously this movie still does kind of fall into the like, and we're gonna give fans what they want, which is Darth Vader being a badass before he just suddenly stops being a badass. Because then we head into the original trilogy where he does a lot of standing and choking, but this movie is the one where we get to see him like literally destroy a ship full of people.
a hallway full of people. It's like
No, it is multiple hallways.
it's the same hallway that just keeps on continuing. I
Okay,
guess
well,
like it's
if it's
sort
a
of like
circular ship, it's the whole ship.
you could argue. No, it's not. It's not a circular ship.
I said if. I don't
Oh,
remember
oh,
what
oh,
the
oh. Okay,
size
yeah,
of the
sorry.
or what
I didn't
shape
hear
the ship
the
is.
the if,
Yeah, I
but
said if it's
yeah,
a circular ship, it's one hallway.
yeah. Like the White Stripes song, doom, 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 doom. Like that is like when I'm thinking about like the scene in the movie.
That's the
Well,
nerd
let's
song.
let's table that for just a second. Then let's get everybody up to speed. So the Death Star. We learn in this movie that like we learn a couple of things in this movie. First of all, Grand Moff Tarkin is like like the only person he answers to is the Emperor. Like you kind of knew that in A New Hope, but like
Confirmed.
no, yeah, it's confirmed in this movie, and he uses the Death Star twice on the planet that Saw Gerrera's on. I don't remember the names of the planets.
Seraph is the one that they are in, or
That's
Scarif.
the tropical,
Yeah, Scarif is the one that they're on when they all die.
right? And here's the thing is that like he's using it, I think at like quarter power. Like he's not using the full power of this fully operational battle station. He's like using it at like quarter power and like just devastating. Like how like they talked about what wiped out the dinosaurs when
Hmm.
the asteroid like hits. Like imagine like 50 of those asteroids like hitting Earth. Like Earth still remains, but it is a wasteland of just torture and death. Like nothing is surviving.
That's the
and
one.
like he just used it on the planet that is like, Saw Gerrera is there, and everybody's getting out of, like, and
Yeah.
now they're coming with the Death Star to Seraph, which is a tropical planet, and that's where all this is going down. So, like, just because we really didn't talk about it, basically what happens is they've got to get the plans of the Death Star, like the plans that R2D2 has with that accompany help me out, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. Like
Or as
these
Carrie
are
Fisher said,
those plans. Like
as
even
Carrie
if you
Fisher
don't like
said,
Star
let me
Wars,
say it. As
what?
Carrie Fisher said, help me, Obi-Wan, whoever the fuck you are, you're my only hope.
Sorry
I was like,
that I
let me
interrupted.
what Carrie Fisher said.
So like, but anyways, these are the plans. Even if you're not a Star Wars fan, those plans are in R2D2 and start Luke Skywalker on the hero's journey,
Mhm.
Joseph Campbell. But anyways, so like the whole ending of this movie is like basically the planet's on lockdown. Messages can't get out. They've got to get the Death Star plans, and then they also need to like unlock the space door so that they can like do all of it. And like what I was referring to is if you've seen A New Hope and you're like, they're taking on the Empire and they have like 16 ships. It's because they had a lot more. And in order to just steal these plans, like they do kamikaze missions to take down the the shield so that they
Mhm.
can get the message out. Meanwhile, like people are just like dying. Like when I was saying that thing about Donnie Yen, like he has to press a button to blow something up while the pilot that we didn't even talk about.
Bodhi Rook. I was waiting to talk about Bodhi. I
Like
love
there's a
Bodhi.
pilot that like left the Empire, and he's the one that like was working with Jin's dad, and like he's the one that like tipped everybody off to what the hell's going on right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, long story short,
You meet
like
him in prison at Oz.
they do all of these things, like fix they got 8 things to do to get these plans, and then after they succeed, also everyone dies, like that has done this. So like Rogue One, like basically how they get the name Rogue One is that like Mon Mothma and Bail Organa and everybody on Yavin 4 are like, we can't do this. We can't like give up like these pieces, and they're like, oh, okay. And then they go anyway. Andor
Mhm.
goes and they take some pilots with them, and then the rest of them come later. But they get the crap. But here's the best part is after they do all that and everybody dies because the Death Star gets fired, wipes them all out, they all die. They get the plans up to the one of the spaceships, and that's they still have to escape from
Darth
Darth Vader and his Imperial Star Destroyer. And it's great because they get the ship caught in a tractor beam, and like Vader gets on the ship, and that's what we're talking about, is because like it's here's the way I like to always describe it, is that like by that point I think Star Wars was 40 years. um and it wasn't it 2016 or 2018, that movie?
This movie?
Yeah, Rogue One.
2016.
Wait, so Star Wars, I believe, was at 40 years in 2016 or 39 years in 2016.
39, yeah, because it was 77.
And like Darth Vader, like you saw Anakin Skywalker do some awesome crap.
Mhm.
But all you ever saw Darth Vader do was scream no and choke people and move very slowly while fighting with a lightsaber. And all you me personally, as a Star Wars fan, all I kind of wanted to do was see Darth Vader do some badass stuff, and I wanted to see Boba Fett do some badass stuff. I don't think that was much to ask. They keep telling us that they're badasses, like, I mean, you could argue that Darth Vader did do badass stuff. Good, Benji. Good, by the way. Those of you listening, my sister decided to put her cat in the frame, And
No, I
now
didn't do it
you're
on
all
purpose.
welcome to look at his butthole.
I didn't do it on purpose. He was making a bunch of
He's
noise,
like,
so I
I'm a
grabbed it.
cat. Here's my butthole.
He was
Enjoy.
making so much noise. I'm like, this is gonna pick up because he wouldn't stop knocking things over next.
I didn't hear anything. But
Oh
yet
well.
you can search on the internet, and all you hear is every single click of your finger on the keyboard.
Um, but you were saying, oh my god, about
I
Darth
was
Vader.
saying that, like, and now finally the moment arrives. And it's great because they get the plans. The dude's like, all right, I got the plans. And he starts running. And the door only opens like an eighth of like the enough to get your arm through,
Yeah,
basically,
that's
which is
enough for Darth
pivotal.
Vader.
It's pivotal. No, that's enough. Darth Vader's at the other end of the hallway.
Oh,
This
that's
is
right.
the
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
yeah. So the dude's like, "Help me!" like screaming at the door, and there's like 8 or 9 other people behind him. And then all of a sudden it gets quiet, and they look back, and then there's the red, vroom, and you hear the hum of the lightsaber, and then you just get treated to Darth Vader just annihilating everyone for like 2 straight hallways. Like I my
This
favorite
one's
part
my favorite,
is
where
the
he
guy that he puts on the ceiling
like
and he doesn't do like and he's not there yet. So he
yeah.
stops like the other people with his lightsaber and then he just chopped the dude in half on the ceiling and then that dude falls down like behind him. Like it's he's doing multiple things at once
Hmm.
and just being Darth Vader, like what you always knew he was capable of, which is just like messing dudes up
In a
with the
dramatic
Force.
fashion, because there is no reason that he stood there, much like Michael Myers. There's no reason he just stood in the shadows for a minute, just waited till the opportune moment to turn on a lightsaber. And then why did he need to
Hey,
throw that guy
no,
at
no,
the
no.
ceiling? He didn't need
Look,
to throw that guy. This
there's
he's so
it's not worth doing your job if you can't have a little fun while you're doing it.
I'm just saying it perfectly continued my theory that
I'd
there is
like to
no one
think,
makes
like I
me mad
said,
at
is
Skywalker.
that like Vader, like the one thing of like Anakin Skywalker he kept was that like he was a big White Stripes fan when he was Anakin. And like you don't hear it, but like Vader's helmet has like a stereo in it. And
Yeah,
it's
and
like, all
it's
right,
Seven Nation Army.
yeah,
Just
the
blast.
Seven Nation Army, and then it's like play. Doom, 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 doom. And then he's just like, like, and he's just like, you're dead, you're dead, you're dead. Like, I like this guy, and that guy like gets the plans out through the crack in the door, and he's like, take it. Meanwhile, how does that guy know? Who he doesn't. But obviously it's important because when that guy finally gets it to Leia, he's like, hey, someone handed me this. Like, what is it? Leia's like, it's hope. With her dead Polar Express eyes. Her and the
Jesus.
Moff, the Grand of Moff Tarkeen.
Yeah, he looked like a bunch of zeros and ones. I like the end of this movie a lot. I like how it ties in to A New Hope. That's why I'm excited for how Andor season 2 is supposed to tie directly into this. I like how they're just continuations. Um I do think that like Darth Vader gets a lot of credit because there's 2 great Darth Vader scenes in this movie, but the movie as a whole has a bunch of great moments. Like Shrew going and hitting that button is cool as shit when you're watching it.
Well, yeah, like, because that whole movie makes you want to cheer.
Mhm.
Like, that's what I mean. It's like a community movie. It's like you're watching it, you're like, oh, there's like, it's better shared. Like, it's not one you want to watch by yourself. Like,
No.
um, and like I said, like when they like take care of some of the plot holes from like A New Hope, like my favorite is Galen Erso like being like, I put a fatal flaw in the Death Star. It's just fantastic. It's like I like to talk about how like there's like Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars. There's all these like pop culture things that like Star Trek is a little different because it's it's closing in on 60 years now, but where like the people that grew up loving it, okay, like just loving it, are now that were inspired by it are now in a position where they're, you know, being able to make it, and what you get is like stuff that like they always wanted to see, but not as adults, as kids. And it's
Mhm.
so much different than when you're a kid. Like you watch it as an adult, like that's really awesome. You got like a different like eye, but like think about it, like like that hallway scene is like somebody when they were a kid. It's like, wouldn't it be great if like Darth Vader like got a guy up on the ceiling and he was blocking like laser blasts. And when he finally closed in on the guy at the ceiling, he just like chopped him in half so that the body fell down on either side of him. And he just like kept walking. Like, how sweet would that be? And then, like,
That's
25
funny.
years
Yeah.
later, the dude's like writing Star Wars and directing it. He's like, hey, I'm going to put that like Darth Vader chop in half in a hallway scene, And it's like, eh, that, like I said, like it's great to see because it's escalation, but I mean, in most of the time, it's like in a good way, For every like you do get your guys that like come in and have an interpretation that's not all that popular, like I don't know, no one exactly comes to mind. What's the name of the kid in Coco Melon? Is it Baby JJ?
I was like, I don't know, but yeah.
I think
I mean, I was gonna say
it's
to your point,
JJ.
to your point, there is the downfall of like J.J. Abrams clearly wanting to play with his toys and being like,
Right.
"And now Palpatine's back," and you're like, "Why? Why is he back?"
Well, I love Palpatine. I like everybody talks about Darth Vader, but like Sheev, we're on a first name basis.
Yeah, you
Sheev
and
and
G.
Sheev is like my favorite villain ever created.
That's fine. It didn't make any sense that he had returned.
I didn't
Go
come up with
ahead.
this idea, but I've read several people on several different like sites that I frequent. That they're like, all they had to do was like mention Palpatine somehow at the end of the Last Jedi. Like
But
that's it. And then it has like a different vibe than just like a Fortnite announcement. And then like literally you have what's not Pedro Pascal,
Oscar
what's the
Isaac.
guy's, yeah, Oscar Isaac, where he's just like Palpatine's returned somehow.
Oh,
Or like,
please quote the best meme of all time correctly. Somehow Palpatine returned.
yeah, yeah, and it's like, but like if they would have just been like, you know, something in The Last Jedi to
Well, and
tease it,
it's
then
because
it's not like
studios
so
just made
irritating.
it up, and that's why it is so annoying to me. But I also, like, I can't get into my problems with Rise of Skywalker because it's like the pacing of that movie was weird. Why did they show the audience that Chewie didn't really die and then have the scene where everyone's sad that Chewie died? I would have reversed those. So then you're really sad and then you realize he's fine. Whatever. I think to your point of sometimes it's nice when you have someone who grew up with Star Wars getting to make a Star Wars. It worked really well with like Rogue One, and it has worked well. I don't know about Tony's deal, like who wrote it. I don't know about how he felt beforehand, but like him doing this and then Andor, great, no notes. Gareth Edwards knew how to direct a Star Wars. It worked really well. And so it works in this movie because it's you have those moments with Darth Vader, but then you also have just a really good Star Wars movie if you did not have them. So
Oh,
if
if
you
you
take
take
out,
Darth Vader out of that movie, it's still,
yeah.
I would probably place it in the same placement I had it, like first or second best non-Skywalker saga property. And I mean that like property, not movies, because there's two of them. I
Yeah.
mean like
The Mandalorian.
Ahsoka, which kind of could be argued that it is a Skywalker saga kind of deal, but not
In
necessarily
it, but I
because
don't think so.
right. I like Ahsoka. It seems to be controversial or whatever, but I thought it was great. I think Rosario Dawson nailed the mannerisms of Ahsoka, like with the whole arm crossing and like this, like I mean, like it seems so natural, and it's like that was Ahsoka. Like
Yeah,
actually, the comic book convention that you and I potentially could be going to, like Ashley Eckstein's going to be there.
I know.
And if I didn't already spend so much money on other things, I would 100% like talk with her, but like I got to prioritize, and I'm not going to get into it here. But obviously, she is like third, and I can only afford two things.
Oh my God. On that, do you have any final thoughts about Rogue One?
I really liked it. It sucks that Jin Urso is the one character that I don't see us getting more of
Hmm.
because I really liked Jin Urso. Um, I think that we got uh the beginning of like Darth Vader at a peak of his powers, and like that what we saw in this movie was escalated to a perfect amount in Obi-Wan Kenobi, because we saw, and we also saw, which is like the beginning of the end as
Yeah,
well, because he got humbled again when he thought he was still invincible, and
yeah.
Obi-Wan was like, bro, I didn't even use the Force for a decade, and I'm still about to whip you. But I like Rogue One. I like it a lot. It is what I consider the first thing that brought me back into like being a major fan, because I kind of fell off for a while, and Rogue One was like the oh damn, like to quote Captain Raymond Holt, oh damn, oh damn, like it was good. But Rachel, how about your final thoughts?
I love Rogue One very much. Like I said before, it made me come out of this movie and instantly try and find um more Cassian stuff just because I loved Cassian Andor, which is why I'm very excited that he has his show. I do, as you said, wish we could get more Jin, but I don't think we ever will, just because she is so kind of contained into this story, and we do see most of the only thing we don't see with her is like what happened. We know what happened between Saul leaving her in this movie, but we don't know that much of it. We just kind of heard. So like we
We
could
could get like a Saw and her movie, but it wouldn't be
it wouldn't be
what's her
Felicity Jones.
yeah, it wouldn't be her, like, because like she was basically in Star Wars jail the whole time that she would have been like Felicity Jones,
She
like
was
that age, like she was a little kid.
she was
So you would,
15,
yeah, well,
she was
Felicity
16,
Jones is in her
like,
mid 30s
yeah,
probably. It's kind of tough to play,
to play a child.
yeah, like a 15-year-old. It's also kind of creepy. It's like Drew Barrymore and Never Been Kissed. It's like you're clearly 32.
Yeah, I do wish we would get more Ruin Bays. I wish we would get more of Bodhi because I love Bodhi Rook. But yeah, I do like that we're continuing to tell stories with these characters. I just want to see more of them.
Correct.
But
So
so Patrick,
we are not going to be telling you what is coming next.
yeah, because we don't. Sometimes we just don't know.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, would you watch this week? I could watch that, and then I watch it, and then we talk about it.
Yeah, and so we're doing that approach instead. So you'll find out our next
Also,
episode when we do it.
I also think that coming up here soon, we might Rachel and I have been. Can I share our one thing that we've been talking about for
Oh yeah,
like
go ahead.
uh, Rachel and I've never seen the Fast and the Furious movies. And what was the franchise that you'd never seen?
I
Harry
don't know.
Potter? Is it?
No.
No. Anyway, so we were discussing potentially me watching Fast and the Furious movies and talking about them, and her watching movies that I have chosen. But unfortunately, the difference is that like Fast and the Furious came out when I was gone and she was still at home before she left. So there was no influence of like we should watch these. Where like every franchise that I would like be like you should watch this.
I
She's like, dude, I've seen that. Like so.
did.
I don't know. We'll figure it out. Maybe I'll actually get her to watch Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny.
That's my franchise. Tenacious D, the Pick of
I
Destiny.
just know it'll be the Jack Black franchise. Like I'll be like, you're starting with Mars Attacks, then you're gonna watch Shallow Hal and all of them.
I've seen, so I'll be revisiting some.
Jumanji,
Yeah, yeah. I've never seen Jumanji.
The Next Level.
I've seen them both because you forget who our father is.
He's 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 no one.
That's I said is, and I was like, should have said was, but
Yeah, yeah. He is a box of ashes. Anywho,
he's in some baseball bats.
on a more positive note,
Patrick, tell
Rachel,
them
why don't you tell them where they can find you
you can
on the
find me.
internets?
You can find me at Rachel Leishman on Twitter, at Rachel_Leishman on Instagram and TikTok. You can find my work at the Mary Sue and at Collider. And you also can listen to more of my podcasts because I also host Padre Pascal and the Fordcast, Harrison Ford podcast. Hey, Patrick, why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
Where love has been outlawed and justice has no name. That's where you'll find me.
Christ.
Hey, but
Um,
there is one last thing I wanted to say out there.
uh-huh.
Patrick, this is Patrick, you sexy son of a bitch. I hope that you become Professor X in Deadpool 3.
Until next time, bye bye.
Bye.